Welcome. The basis for this presentation is AI generated, but I want to be clear, all the concepts and principles are mine. The conversational approach is something I couldn't have done alone.
We've talked before about setting goals, smart criteria, values-driven methods, all of that. Today we're looking at what comes next. Missing piece.
The actual follow-through.
Right. A goal is just an idea until you can actually see the progress you're making. We're going beyond the goal itself to the mechanism that gets you there.
And let's be honest, most of the time we just go by, feel what we feel like we accomplished. Or we check a box on a to-do list and call that measurement.
And that's the trap. The thing that separates purposeful progress from just wandering around and hoping for the best is self-monitoring.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because if a goal is already measurable, something like, I don't know, a revenue target or running a mile in 6 minutes, why do I need a whole other concept like self-monitoring? Isn't just tracking the numbers enough?
Well, that's where intuition can lead you astray if you're not careful. Think about it this way. If you're a hiker and you misjudge your footing on a trail, the consequence is instant. You stumble, you fall. But in life, our unchecked habits, our unexamined assumption, they quietly shape everything over months, even years.
And by the time you notice the setback, the damage is sort of already done?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's figure out where you might be with all this. We're going to do a super quick self-assessment, just to kind of check in with your own internal guidance system.
Just think about a goal you're working on and answer true or false to these 3 statements. Ready?
Yep. Okay, number 1. I use a systematic approach to ensure things are on track and moving in the right direction. True or false?
Number 2. I experience surprises or setbacks because of a lack of oversight. True or false?
And the last one, number 3. I do not feel confident in my ability to anticipate and prepare for potential challenges. True or false?
Okay, if you answered false to that first one and true to the other 2,
You're probably operating without a clear direction.
you're likely being inconsistent. The system of observation just isn't there.
I want you to think about self-monitoring not as a to-do list or a spreadsheet, but more like your own internal compass. It's that thing that helps you navigate the, let's face it, pretty complex terrain of your life with some real intention and clarity.
So let's define that system. What is the formal definition of self-monitoring?
It's defined as the disciplined act of observing, assessing, and interpreting our internal states, our behaviors, and our environmental interactions, all to guide what we do next. It's really the engine of personal guidance.
So how do you track meaning? That whole process seems so subjective.
That's the exact problem. That's where pure measurement falls short, because it's often totally void of context. To get to meaning, you need that disciplined inward focus, but that's where our biases and emotions can just run wild.
So you need a structure.
You need a framework to organize all that subjective data.
Okay, so you might be thinking, how do I actually do this? Because it's more than just telling yourself to pay more attention. Real, effective self-monitoring is actually built on 4 key pillars that all work together.
4 foundations that turn this from a vague idea into a real practice. Introspection, non-judgementalism, accountability, and self-awareness.
Let's start with introspection. This is the deliberate examination of your inner landscape.
Yeah.
And I want to stress deliberate. It's not just idle daydreaming or ruminating.
It's intentional observation.
It is. You're looking inward to find the mechanisms behind your behavior, not just to, wallow in feelings. In life, that might look like realizing, okay, this anxiety I'm feeling is not because I can't do the job. It's because I have 3 deadlines all hitting at once.
It turns that big, scary cloud of emotion into a concrete problem you can solve.
Precisely.
But introspection can bring up some ugly data. I missed my target, I failed again. How do you stop that voice in your head from immediately jumping to,
I'm lazy.
I'm bad at this?
Yeah, that just shuts the whole process down.
And that is the job of the second foundation, non-judgmentalism. It is the discipline to just hold off on those immediate verdicts. Good, bad, success, failure. You put them aside just long enough to see what is actually going on.
Because judgment just clouds everything. It turns perception into self-criticism. So you stumble on the trail, the judgmental mindset,
I'm so clumsy.
which is useless. It's a dead end. But a non-judgmental stance produces raw data. It says, my stride shortened right after I skipped lunch.
That's something you can work with. It points to energy or hydration, not some fundamental character flaw.
It's about clean methodological observation. It's about discernment.
Okay, so if introspection gets the data and non-judgmentalism cleans it up, the third one, accountability, has to be the bridge to action.
It's the bridge. Because all the observation in the world doesn't matter if you don't do anything with it.
It's inert.
Totally inert. You can notice you're tired, but if you don't actually slow your pace or drink some water, you're monitoring in a vacuum.
So accountability is what makes it real. It ensures that observation leads to an actual tangible adaptive change.
It is. This is where the numbers are important, but only as a trigger for action. Accountability is what produces the effect.
Which brings us to the fourth and final foundation, self-awareness.
And this is the meta level. This is the lens that integrates everything you've observed, not just with the goal, but with your core values, with your identity. It's the final calibration.
It's what flags those moments of tension. Like, you say you value honesty and integrity, but then you feel that little pull to exaggerate something on a job application.
Self-awareness is what alerts you to that conflict. It shines a light on the gap between your stated values and your immediate impulse. And then active self-monitoring through accountability helps you make a choice that's aligned.
So that's the theory, right? But what does this look like out in the wild, in the real world? Let's take a look at how these four foundations show up in a few totally different situations.
Our own minds seem to work against us. We rationalize, we procrastinate, we tell ourselves we're doing better than we are.
We do. Our cognitive biases are always running in the background.
So what's the countermeasure for that internal distortion?
You simply cannot just trust your gut because your gut is biased.
So you have to compare your internal feeling with something else.
You have to. Triangulation is so critical, especially when we're taking in information from the outside world. Let's say you hear some bold claim, some new piece of advice, maybe about hydration, something extreme.
Right.
A self-monitoring person doesn't just accept it, they triangulate. They check the claim, they look for scientific evidence, they compare sources, they ask, is this a fact, an opinion, or a sales pitch? It's about staying vigilant against both external nonsense and our own internal self-deception.
So this framework, introspection, non-judgmentalism, accountability, and self-awareness, it sounds like it's designed to be incredibly versatile. It should work in basically any context, physical, social.
It is completely versatile.
Right.
But the key is that the application has to be fast. Let's go back to that high-altitude ridge example. Introspection picks up the quick and breathing, the tension. Non-judgmentalism sees the anxiety not as weakness, but as a signal. Accountability then shifts your focus consciously to technique.
To foot placement, to breathing.
Instead of getting distracted by the end goal, the summit. It's a full cycle in seconds.
Okay, that's a high-stakes physical environment. But what about just walking home? You're in a hot, humid city. Deadlines are on your mind. How fast does the cycle have to run then?
Instantly. It has to be immediate. Introspection picks up the subtle tension in your shoulders, the irritation from the traffic noise.
Okay.
Self-awareness then immediately links that data point irritation to your bigger pattern of habitual anxiety about work. And then accountability drives the micro-adjustment. Lengthen your breath, fix your posture. You turn that vague discomfort into concrete physical regulation.
And what about in a social setting? A crowded networking dinner. It's noisy, overwhelming.
Same process. Introspection reveals you're feeling impatient or maybe anxious because the conversation took a turn you didn't expect.
Right, a very common feeling.
Self-awareness then exposes one of your social patterns. Maybe you tend to over-explain when you feel defensive, or you unconsciously start mirroring someone else's aggressive tone.
And accountability is the action.
Accountability guides the action. You pause before you respond. You make a conscious choice to lean into curiosity instead of getting defensive. It's the same 4 steps running over and over, whether you're tracking your breath or the rhythm of a conversation.
Let's just boil it all down. What's the one big idea you should really walk away with? It's this. Self-monitoring is not about turning yourself into a robot that logs every single data point. It's an art. It's about learning to read the subtle signals your body and mind are constantly sending you, and then finding the deeper story, the meaning, inside the day-to-day chaos of life.
No amount of observation alone will confront the truths we cannot see.
That raises a huge question, doesn't it? If we are only ever observing what's happening inside our own little bubble of awareness, what is it that ultimately tests and refines what we find there?
That's the boundary we'll have to cross next time.